Hey guys, this is Greg, Dogs and Doubles. As you can see, I'm up here today, Poulin Auctions. We're checking out all the great guns. I brought Sky along, she wanted to see some too. I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna pick out some of my favorites and I'm gonna tell you all about them. So let's go inside and check it out. Hey folks, Greg here, Dogs and Doubles. I'm at Poulin's Antiques today and they have an auction coming up. Here's their catalog. They've got thousands of guns they're going to be selling. And we're here today to look at some of the shotguns that really catch my interest. One of them is this Super Fox, an HE, just an awesome American gun, one of my favorites. And from the big ones, they even have little ones like this fantastic little Francot 410. Great condition, nice little petite gun. And they've got all sorts of other doubles. They've got Parkers, they've got Foxes, and I'm going to take you through my favorite ones, tell you what's great about them, and give you a chance to take a closer look. So stay tuned and let's have a great time. So what you see here are 4 guns by one of the most famous gun makers in the world. And that maker is James Purdey Sons. Purdey's been around since the 19th century, and like names like Rolex and Rolls-Royce, everybody knows them, and anyone who's into gun wants one. And the reason why is because they've built fantastic guns for a really long time. The ones we see here, 4 shotguns and a double rifle, they're all for very different purposes. We have a 20 gauge here for upland game. We have a pigeon gun here for traditional live pigeon shooting, and then a double rifle for stalking, everything from elk to red deer, to you could even take it to Africa and shoot smaller game. One thing all these guns have in common, even though they're all for really different purposes, is they're all built on the Beasley action. And the Beasley action was invented by a guy named Frederick Beasley, 1880. He patented it, and then he sold it to Purdey. And since 1880, Purdey has made pretty much all their side-by-side shotguns on this action. It's a great action. It's really unique. It's kind of it's very intricate. It's tough to make, but it works, and it's a very reliable design. And that's why even today, Purdey still makes the Beasley action and uses it all in their shotguns. So let's take a little closer look. I'll show you what makes the Beasley action so special. So what we have here, Purdey shotgun on the Beasley action. This is a little 16 gauge. And what makes the Beasley action so unique, right here. And what this is these are little compressors. And it makes the action into what's called a self-opening action. So when you turn the lever to open the gun, these little levers are initially compressed when the gun's closed. When you open it, they kick up, there's a spring in here that pushes them up, and the gun pops open. And then when you go to close it again, these push back down and compress. I'll show you what that works like. So this here is a 20 gauge. You watch, I'll turn the lever, I'm not even going to touch the barrels, gun pops right open. Self-opener. And then when you go to close it, there's a little resistance, but not too bad. The gun closes, locks, and it's just a super smooth action to use. There's no chunky spots in it. There's no points at which you have to force it excessively. It's just every time you fire it and go to open and reload it, nice and smooth. And that's what's so fantastic about the Beasley action. And it's also why, why people love Purdey's and why the company's built over 30,000 of them so far. So these 4 Purdeys, like I said, they're all coming up to auction here at Poulin's. And there's a variety here. We've got the 20, we've got a 12 gauge game gun. This is a 12 gauge pigeon gun, and then we have the double rifle. And like I said, these are all a little different. And the first one that I want to get into talk about is this great little 20 gauge. There's some really unique features of this one I want to point out. And as far as just an all-around great grouse gun, woodcock hunting or quail, pretty much it's a fantastic gun for that. This little 20 gauge Purdey is a special gun for a lot of reasons. And the big one is that it's a 20 gauge. Most Purdeys that you're going to see out there are 12s. And that's because the Brits have always favored 12s for their game shooting. So 20s, they just didn't make that many of them. People weren't that interested in shooting them. And a lot of times the ones you do find out there, they were made for kids, they were made for smaller adults, and they don't have a lot of the features that this one has, which is 2 of the big ones. It has 29-inch barrels, and it has a nice long stock. So for an adult today, this is a gun that you can easily shoot without a lot of adjustments. This gun's also an antique, so it's from the 1890s, which is arguably one of the best periods for Purdey shotguns. That was back when they were making tons of guns. The craftsmen had a tremendous amount of skill, and they just turned out some of the most beautiful shotguns that they ever made. This particular model, like I said, it's a 20 gauge. Something else that makes it special, it has 2 3/4 inch chambers, and it was reproofed in London for those chambers. So even though it's an older gun, it still is something that you could take out and you could hunt with it. Shoot today with the right ammo, you want to use low pressure 20 gauge shells, but the ammo wouldn't be super hard to find. And just overall, it's just beautifully finished. A couple other things about it. This gun is what's called an extra finish. So this was, when the person ordered this, they wanted to be a little special. So Purdey has a standard gun, which is, we'll take a look at one of those, which is called their house style, rose and scroll. And then they have what's called extra finish. And extra finish has the details that you see on this gun. There's little features like these acanthus leaves on the fences, which are, these are all carved in out of the metal. It's just a nice, beautiful little detail, makes the gun special. And it also has a little different engraving pattern on it. It has a scroll pattern, which is pretty unusual for Purdey's. I think this is one of the few I've ever seen with it. But just little details like that. Overall the gun's just, it's very nice, lightweight. It's under 6 pounds, works beautifully. And if I had to have a grouse gun, just one grouse gun, I think this would probably be it. Then we have this right here is a 12 gauge. This is your standard 12 gauge Purdey game gun. Just a nice, typical shooting gun that you'd see. It's probably from, 1890s, maybe before World War I. This is the kind of gun that Purdey built thousands of, that celebrities, aristocrats, and kings used to take out shooting. And it's just a high quality gun, just nice to use. It's about 6 3/4 pounds. Again, this would be a fantastic gun for everything from pheasant shooting. It's not too heavy to carry grouse hunting, and it's just a classic double that you could really be proud to own. The next gun is a 12, but it's a little bit bigger, and this is a pigeon gun. And live pigeon shooting was a real popular sport in England and in the United States up until about World War I. And it was basically sort of trap shooting, but instead of shooting clay pigeons, they used live birds. And it was really hard on the guns. The loads that they used heavy loads, and they shot a lot of them. So specialized guns were developed for that type of shooting. They're called pigeon guns. And this is a Purdey pigeon gun. Compared to that 12 we just looked at, this gun has a bigger action across the top. It's heavier. It has some stippling on the rib. And it's just a much beefier gun in your hands. It's just bigger all around. And that was because when you're shooting a lot of high power shells, you need a stronger gun to take the recoil, and also you want the extra heavy weight to soak up the recoil. So that way you're just not pounding on yourself as much as you would be with a lighter gun. And Purdey pigeon guns are really unique. Today, they're great for shooting sporting clays, great for taking to the range, and they're good for just taking out and hunting. This one here, it's a little heavier. It's probably 7.5 pounds, but it'd be great to shoot pheasants with it. Another gun I'd love to add in my collection. And this last Purdey we're going to take a look at, this is what's called a double rifle. And back in the days before, when rifles were just sort of coming about, before bolt actions had become really popular, one of the ways they built a rifle that you could fire more than one shot with was they made it with 2 barrels. So you can see here, there's 2 barrels. This is a 360 Express Purdey. And it was probably made to shoot game up to maybe as big as an elk. It's probably more of a stalking rifle. It's a medium caliber, kind of a light caliber. But it's very rare. Purdey made very few double rifles. I think they made fewer than 400. And this one's unusual because it has what's called an underlever. This is a snap action underlever action. And instead of having a lever up here that you operate to open the gun, you press this and it pops open. It's still on that Beasley action, so it opens on its own, and then when you go to close it, that lever snaps back into place. And this is a really strong way to secure the barrels to the action. You can also see there's another bite right here where a little piece comes in to secure the barrel some more. And Purdey used these on a lot of their double rifles, this action. And it was just very reliable, dependable. And even though it's kind of slow to use, when you're using a gun like this, you're only going to take up to 2 shots. This wasn't something where you needed to reload quickly. It was more important that you had a gun that was locked up securely and could take the recoil of these heavier rounds. This gun has a lot of nice features too. It has a little bolted safety on it, beautiful engraving, has little bolsters on the action, which they would put there to reinforce it, just to make it stronger so that it could take the pressures that come with shooting a rifle load. It's just a really pretty gun overall. Something that I would love to take out whitetail hunting if I could afford it. So like I said, these guns are all coming up. Poulin's auction. They have an auction that's starting this Saturday, running for, I think it's 3 days. And these guns are all in the first session. So these guns are all coming up on Saturday. So if any of them interest you, you can go to poulinantiques.com to find out more about them. Just go to the site, go to the search page, enter Purdey, and you'll see all 4 of these guns will come up, plus some others that are in the sale. You can take a closer look at them, find out more about the details of them, see if they're ones you like, and then you can arrange to bid. You can bid online, you can arrange to do a phone bid, or if you want, you can even come up here to Fairfield, Maine, look at the guns yourself, and bid on them live in the sale. If you do bid and you get one, whichever one you get is going to be fantastic, and you're going to make your friends envious. And to find out more about guns like we've just been talking about, other great doubles from Parkers to Foxes, Bosses, Sours, be sure to visit my site, dogsanddoubles.com. My blog has all sorts of pictures, all sorts of information. And if you have a gun and you want to find out more about it, feel free to drop me an email, greg@dogsanddoubles.com. I can do everything from telling you about its history, how much it's worth, and I can even tell you the best ways to sell it and get the most money for it. So check out dogsanddoubles.com. And thanks a lot for watching.